Yo, what's up? Alright, people, gather in. We're gonna have this is locker room episode 2. So today I decided to go out for a bit. So I thought about, just getting out of the room, getting some food and stuff, just living for a bit. But anyways, man, the topic of today is gonna be the hero's journey. Now, and if you've been in self improvement, you're gonna notice that those words come up like very frequently. I did like a little bit of a dive, like I tried to like search it out and search and find out what that really means, the hero's journey. So apparently the hero's journey is like when you get out of your house, when you get out of your parents' house and you like decide to explore the world, by yourself, and like sort of find out who you really are, like go through the trials and tribulations by yourself. I mean, the hero's journey doesn't really mean that you should go through stuff by yourself, man, but like at the end of the day, you're the one that has to fix it, right? Well, first of all, man, the reason why I'm like looking around so much because I'm like filming in a park right now, so I'm still getting used to filming videos in public, man. Literally, because I don't want to film videos like in my room the entire time. But anyways, man, I feel like the beauty of YouTube and the beauty of social media is that there's people like me, people that make videos that can share their experiences, and those experiences can impact or can, prevent other people from making these same mistakes. So far, this has been my hero journey, okay? Let's get it. All right. So my story begins in 2020, when the pandemic happened. Like, things started feeling different, man, after that year, after 2020. And I feel like went through different changes when the pandemic hit, because we literally had to be confined, like in our own homes, in our own rooms, and we had to like figure stuff out, man. 2020, I was in high school. I was in Mexico. I was going to high school in Mexico. And I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Like I often think about what could have been if the pandemic never happened, because like during that time I started surrounding myself with more people. So during that time I think I had like a lot of things figured out. Like I just never thought about the plans that I'm doing right now. I guess you could say that I was like kind of just floating through life, just doing the same things over and over. Waking up, going to school, thinking that routine was going to last forever, but it didn't. So when the pandemic got announced and when everybody had those 2 weeks off, I was like, oh yeah, man, we're gonna have 2 weeks off of school, So online classes starting to happen. There will be times where the teacher would ask us how we felt, during those crazy times. Some of my classmates said that they were going crazy, that they just couldn't tolerate the isolation anymore, like they just needed to be surrounded by people. Meanwhile, me, bro, I was happy as I could be, bro. I mean, I'm just chilling over here, doing my homework, watching movies, bro, just having a good time at home, But that the pandemic lasted was very different depending on which country you were from. But like, for example, in my case, since I was living in Mexico, the pandemic lasted like 2 years and a half, or was it 1 year and a half? No, I think it was only 2 years. So the first year was cool, I was doing my own stuff, I was trying to exercise a lot more. But then, bro, when the second year came, I started getting like, I don't know if I should call it like existential thoughts, but I started like questioning things about myself, because there was actually a point where I thought about dropping high school. I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to start getting money because I think it was around the time when the Sigma male, the beta male, the investing in crypto, the Bitcoin stuff started popping off on Instagram. So obviously, when I had like free time, I would often, open up Instagram and start scrolling through the reels. So that's where my motivation began. I was like, I don't know, I guess this is gonna sound really cringy, bro, but just bear with me, okay? But I started having like a certain hunger, for getting money, so at the time I thought that the most intelligent decision for me to make was to just drop high school, which I didn't, okay? Spoiler alert, I did not drop high school. I just decided to be a studious kid, like, no, man. Instead of getting, I was like, I don't think so, bro. So why? And one of the main reasons was because during the summer of 2020, 2022, I think, not 2021. I think it was the summer of 2021 when I first started working. When I first started getting out there and trying to make my own money. My first ever job was in a car wash. So I'm not even gonna lie, but that job lasted like 2 weeks, bro. And the reason why was because I just thought that it didn't was, like I began to realize that working at a car wash, and this is not me bashing anyone that was at a car wash, but this is just my own personal experience and my own personal opinion. But I just didn't like perceived it as a very smart way to make money. Like at the end of the day, I was making money, right? Like I was an honest working man, but it just wasn't for me. So that's when my job searching journey began. So I started like applying for different jobs. I think my second job in a panaderia, in a bread shop. Is there any Hispanic people watching this? You know what a panaderia is? Where the conchitas are? Anyways, so when I applied to the bread shop job, I applied there with the intention of making bread, like like making the breads that the staff like takes out to the floor so that people can buy it. So I wanted to make the bread from scratch. Having no experience, and now that I think about it, bro, that just doesn't make sense. Like how is someone supposed to like hire me to make bread with no experience? Because if you ever worked at a bakery shop or at a restaurant and you're the one like making stuff or making the food, you're gonna know that time is like it's a key factor in everything that you do in the kitchen. Okay, so I eventually got a call from the employer and he told me to come to work the next day. So I was pumped, I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna make some real bread right now. But what ended up happening was that instead of putting me to work with the bakers, with the people that make the bread, they ended up putting me in the cashier, bro. In the cashier. So I was like 17. I was like 16, 17, I think. Imagine this, okay? So you just came out of a pandemic, right? After being 1.5 year or half a year. No, after being an entire year, almost an entire year in isolation, and you decide to get a job, and the first job that they put you in is like in a cashier to socialize with people. So basically what I'm trying to say is that my social skills were trash, you know, and I've gotten a little bit better with time. Uh, but I just feel like social skills is something that you should be like sharpening every single day. But anyways, man, like I didn't last long there either. You know, I only worked there for like 2 days, I think. Uh, and the reason because of that is because I just felt like a high level of anxiety. Just like dealing with people, because every single customer was different. So there would be times where I would have uh, like cool customers, like well educated customers, and then there would be times where there would be like customers with an attitude, or just being rude in general. So so I just had like a high level of anxiety at the time. So I just had a high level of anxiety, uh, to a point where if a conflict or something were to happen, I just didn't know how to manage the situation or how to resolve it. So during that time, why am I lying, right? But I have like a starting problem where if I get too nervous, I start to stutter, and you know that's just embarrassing for me, to be honest. You know, so I also ended up quitting that job, um, and I felt like shit, because, or at least that's how I think I felt, because I remember telling myself that I had the idea of dropping school because I thought that I was gonna do well at working, but then when these two experiences happened, I was like, I just fell into a state of pure hatred, with myself, because I started telling myself, man, I'm not good at doing things. I can't focus on studying. Uh, I just can't like work properly. I have anxiety, well, stuttering, things like a product of anxiety. I think the time that took me to find those two jobs almost took my entire summer, that I ended up just saying, fuck it, because it just took me my the entire summer, so then, when summer was over, I had to go back to school, and I decided to continue studying, and I eventually graduated from high school, right before I graduated from high school. Something happened, because one thing that I forgot to mention during this video is that I was like sort of dealing with stuff back home, and like the most distressing thing about it is that like when you're a minor, like you can't really help it, because that's your home, that's the roof that covers your head every single night. Those are your parents. But as soon as you grow up, you like sort of start to realize that you're eventually gonna have a life on your own, of your own, right? So that's one thing. That's the first thing that you begin to realize. The second thing is that the things that go between these walls, between the walls of your home, it may not seem like it, but like those things like fuck you up, man. Like those things make some damage on your persona, with your identity. So a lot of shit happened during that time, My mom ended up filing a divorce, like divorce papers. So a bunch of shit started to happen. Attorneys, lawyers started getting involved, and I just couldn't take it. You know, I just couldn't take it. Um, so my mom, basically like takes care of like their age people, old people, to say the least. So she was moving around, a lot. She got to live like in different houses. So a lot of the stuff that was going on back home, it ended up getting too much into my head, so I just decided to leave home, man. And I still remember that day. I remember that it was a Sunday, and I think I got a call from my mom, and she told me to just like pack it up and just like leave home. Um, like obviously I thought about it twice, but I ended up packing up my stuff and getting out of there. So we ended up crashing at a stranger's house. The stranger, whose name I'm not gonna say, obviously gave us permission to live there for a while. So it was in that house where I would spend another year, like 1.5 years. That's where I would live for a while, for like almost 2 years. And like, to be honest, like the person's house where I was living at was very far away from my high school, so I had to like take the public transport. Not that that is bad, in any way, but what I'm trying to say is that the distances were like pretty far away. But I will say something. Some interesting things happened while I was living there, because after everything that I have went through during this point, that made me realize more. That made me realize more things about myself, and that was that I wanted to, for some reason, like make YouTube videos was one, make music, make movies. Like to this day I still aspire to be a movie director. Make movies. I just had to deal with a lot of things by myself. Like obviously I have my mom by my side, and she always helped me. She always helped me with everything that I needed. But I just felt like just felt surrounded by a big feeling of emptiness. I feel like the reason behind that emptiness was because I was just like figuring out who I really was. I was just figuring out about what type of lifestyle I want to live, what type of future I want to have, what type of people I want to be surrounded with. So all those things, I feel like they play a big factor on the loneliness that I was feeling at the time. Because I feel like that loneliness was just me not being. I feel like that loneliness was me being indecisive about every single decision that I was making and every single person that I was interacting with. Because I started to realize that just in general, in every single field and every single thing that you do, You know, in every single thing that you do, the people around you do play a big factor. You know, in certain outcomes that you're gonna have in your life. You know. So I started doing that, you know. And also, since the house that I was living in at the time was located in a beach, that's also when I started filming videos and, you know, creating this channel, you know. But the reason because I decided to make videos, create a YouTube channel, I mean music, was because, like, first of all, I was inspired, you know, by a lot of people that almost, or you know, they that did the exact same thing, because I just wanted to make a connection with people, you know. Because for example, me personally, I find music very comforting sometimes, you know. And I feel like sometimes like music understands you a lot better, you know. And I know that you shouldn't like rely on music too much, you know, when going through something, because you should just rely on yourself to a certain extent. I ended up graduating high school, you know, like, and by the way, you know, like, by the way, every single thing that I have told you guys so far, like, for me, it almost, like, for me, it felt like opening a new cycle, you know, like, for example, when I left home, it felt like a new cycle was opening up, like a new door was opening up, you know. When I graduated high school, it felt like a new, new opportunities, you know, like a new beginning was happening, you know. So when I graduated high school, I ended up taking a job where I will work almost a year, you know, before starting university, you know. So that job taught me a lot of things, like, for example, realizing the importance of other people's times, my time, you know, the things that I'm willing to do, or how far am I willing to go for something. You know, discipline was a major thing, a major topic, or a major lesson that I repeatedly ended up learning one time after another. I was no longer living with my mom and with the other person, you know. Eventually got my own place, and then again, you know, because I was living in such a, you know, chaotic environment, you know, living alone didn't feel so bad after all. You know, like, to a certain extent, it felt very peaceful. And also because, like, I was having the time of my life, you know. I was blessed in music. I was, you know, I was just chilling, you know. But at the same time, I was also working. I was getting my own money, you know, starting buying myself, you know, some clothes. So far up to that point, you know, I began to realize that, you know, like, living alone is cool, you know, just being in silence is cool to a certain extent, but it just, you know, it shouldn't be like that, you know? It shouldn't be like that forever, because every time that I would link up with someone else, or every time that I would reunite with a peer or with someone else, you know, just felt really refreshing, talking with someone. It just felt really refreshing to hear a different opinion than mine, to hear a different point of view, because sharing things and sharing perspective with people, it really gives you a different view on the world, besides your own, but you should always have your own opinion about everything in life. I guess what I'm really trying to say is that finding your way is part of the journey. You probably don't know what you want out of life right now. And to be honest, at a young age, who does? Sure, you probably know what you need to have: the car, the money, the education. But what about what you really, really want? I'm talking about dreams that keep you up at night. The ideas that bring life back to you. The things that you desire to change about yourself. I think it's expected to make mistakes along your search for answers. You know? Like, you're trying to make sense of the things that are happening in your life right now with what you know in the moment. I just find it easier to be doing something during that process. Trying different things, meeting different people, learning some new skills, moving to a different country. Have some fun here and there, have some regrets, but just keep moving on.